All right, everybody, welcome back to The Few Show. My name is Bud. I am Chief of Staff at Xfusion.io and co-host of The Few Show. Today, I am excited to be joined by my guest, Adrian Garcia. Dr. Adrian Garcia is a published author, inventor, and CEO founder of FynCom. He has created and led lifestyle businesses such as credit card manufactured spending, drop shipping, and website flipping. His hobbies are based on arbitrage financial instruments and using digital currency to interface with everyday life. Hey, thanks so much for being on the show, Adrian.
Thanks for having me, Bud. It's a pleasure to be here. Looking forward to having this conversation.
Yeah, me too. Hey, I want to start off not talking about FynCom, but talking about what you say you decided was your first entrepreneurial venture, and that is starting the men's and women's cross-country team at UC Merced. Yeah, I did my homework on you.
Nice.
Tell me about that.
That was really fun. It was a calling that I tend to go through life and follow my feelings, follow what just feels right. And what felt right when I was 18 years old was to go to this brand new university called UC Merced. It had just opened in 2005, and I would have joined in 2008. So I was pretty early there, and I was born and raised in Merced. I loved running. The summer before I got into UC Merced, I ran 100-mile weeks for 2 weeks, injured myself really badly, and I still managed to run a mile in 4 minutes and 38 seconds. So I loved running. I was very passionate about it. Cross-country running especially, because you get a bunch of weirdos in cross-country running, and it's just really fun to interact with people that are just really strange and have this passion of destroying their bodies just so that they can increment their time by a little bit. It's this really strange sort of mentality, and I love hanging out with those people. So love doing hard things. Didn't really know what I wanted to do from high school. At the last year, I kind of was all of a sudden thinking, hey, I want to do something really hard, and mechanical engineering sounds really hard. Also, that school has mechanical engineering, and they don't have a cross-country team, so I'm going to go there and start it. And I found a co-founder, and we started, from day one, recruiting a bunch of other runners. We had 7 a.m. practices 3 days a week for about 3 years, and I did all of this entrepreneurial stuff, I would say. I had to go talk to the sports department, make relationship, talk to other schools, and be like, hey, can we go run at your race, even though we're not an official team, and go and market to other people so that we could run. And eventually, in my last year, we were 2 of the 4 NAIA Division 4 teams at UC Merced, and it was amazing. We had a whole department, we brought in a coach, a real team, we got uniformed, and I got to run for the first UC Merced cross-country season, which was just, it felt amazing being there for the first year and having this thing accumulate and be completed on the 4th year. Made a lot of great friendships along the way, and don't run too much anymore, but I really loved that period of my life. It was very fun.
Nice. That's awesome. So how long were you in that journey before you realized, hey, this is kind of entrepreneurial, and I kind of like doing that?
I honestly, I didn't realize that until about maybe 3 to 4 years after it happened. I wasn't thinking about that at all. It was just something that I was doing. I didn't even really think of entrepreneurial things until I want to say close to around 2016, 2017. All I knew was like, hey, I like doing new things. I like doing hard things, and I like making money. So let's go see what we can do with that. And I just did a bunch of things like manufactured spending, drop shipping, a few little things that never took off with my friends. And it was just stuff that I did for fun. So, yeah.
Nice. So it wasn't until you were looking back, you were like, man, that was kind of an entrepreneurial thing. So it was kind of in your blood from the beginning.
Yeah.
It's just kind of who you are.
Yeah.
That's pretty cool. That's pretty cool. All right. So let's move away from that. We'll come back to more of that fun stuff later, but go ahead and tell me about FynCom, what it is, what you do, and how things are going there.
Yeah. So FynCom is, the world of financial communications, this new sector of industry that we're pioneering. And basically, as a business, what you want to do is be able to talk to customers, engage with them, have them respond to you. Maybe a customer just left, stopped using your service, and you want to find out why. So you send them a survey and hope that they fill it out and let you know, because maybe they left due to something that you recently changed, and you want to know what that change is so that you don't alienate the rest of your customer base. It's really valuable information. But how do you get customers to talk with you, to engage with you when you're sending them emails, but they're not responding because it's one of 50 emails that they got for the day and 1,500 that they're going to get that month? How do you call your customers when they don't answer their phone call because of all the robocalls coming in and the scam call? How do you get people to interact with your site, pop-up notification, when they just ignore everything? Because that's what you do when you're on the internet. You try to ignore anything, and it's going to get worse and worse and worse. So with FynCom, we realized, hey, one of the best ways to do this is just to pay people to respond to you. It can be fractions of a penny. It can be cents. It can be dollars. It can even be tens and hundreds of dollars. The average cost to customer acquisition for the top 5 businesses is about $200 to $400. These are legal services, insurance, software, SaaS companies, banking. So you're expected to pay about $200 to $400 per customer in those fields. So we say, why not just pay your customer $10 to take a survey and qualify themselves? And then you'll know whether they're in your product market fit or not, whether they're in a demographic you want or not. So all we did was take a payment platform and combine it with every communications protocol in existence. So phone call, emails, text messages, social media direct messages, in-app notifications, survey, anything you can think of that has a unique ID. We can combine a payment platform with it and reward someone for responding to you or engaging with you. So instead of cost per click, now we have cost per attention.
Oh, okay. So I would think that you're still going to be getting your clients to have some pushback on that. I know that if I got something that said, hey, fill this out and you're going to get paid, I'd still have a little bit of pushback on that. How do you get people to still engage in that and go ahead and fill out those surveys and that?
Yeah, so it's the same way that a certain demographic of the population is always going to respond to those kinds of things. It's why scam email exists. It's why we still get scam phone calls, because they're effective. As long as you push out enough of those messages, you will capture some portion of the population that will engage with you. And the other way is just through our brand awareness. When we started doing this 8 months ago, people thought that we were crazy. I called people and said, hey, you're actually getting paid to talk with me on this phone call right now, and you'll get a text message afterwards letting you know how to take your money out. And it was just so hard to get people to believe that. It was almost impossible. But there were some people who still believed it. And now it's a lot easier, and it's going to be even easier next year. It's going to be even easier as we grow. So our way of doing that is by talking to enterprises who already do this sort of outbound communication, and then integrating our technologies with them so that people get more used to the idea of FynCom rewards.
Cool. Sure. And then the more capital you get, the more you can get your name out, and the more name recognition you can get. And yeah. Okay.
Ideally, we just make our own money from customers rather than, being funded by the VC machine forever.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, that's that'd be best for sure.
Yeah, 100%.
And then you started this in September of 2019, if LinkedIn is correct. So that's right near the beginning of this pandemic. You start this, the pandemic hits. Does this type of business, is it really affected by this pandemic in a positive or negative way? Everybody's all of a sudden at home. Everybody's locked down. Does that really affect the way that your business works?
No. It had a negative effect on me personally. I mean, I caught COVID in April of 2020. I was fine, but I felt really I mean, it was all very confusing in the beginning, and I just, kind of came to grips with the thought that I might die soon because I didn't know. It was really scary at the time, and so I really, it affected me negatively and then really positively, because at that point I realized, wow, life is really short, and if I really want to build this business that I founded, 8 months ago, I really need to take this serious. So I sat down and retaught myself all the programming I needed to, fix up our back end and get our Android application out and learn sales strategies and build a team. And during that time when I was locked down in my room for a week, I really took life seriously and started applying myself like I used to back in the day. As far as the business itself, I would say, if anything, it had more of a neutral effect on us because,
Okay.
It's still hard to get to talk to people in the first place, and people were just, not really in a mood to converse and have discussions. And, you're more focused on surviving and being sure your nest egg is enough to keep you for the next few months. There were a lot of other things, more, critical things to worry about at the time. So if anything, I would say it had a negative effect overall.
Okay. Yeah, we've talked to some founders that have really, they don't really want to say it because overall the, COVID and the pandemic has been a net negative for a lot of people, but it's really been a positive for their business. So I was just wondering, how that's affected you and the way that the business has worked. So what would you say at this point? I mean, you're still just 2 years in. Like, what is the biggest pain point for you and your company? Is it just still growing, getting people to really believe that you're real? What would you say is the biggest pain point?
The biggest pain point for us would probably be having to manage our outbound communications as a, 1-person, 2-person team right now. Our primary metric of getting customers right now is through outbound communication. But the fun part of that is that we get to eat our own dog food while we do this. So we are actually sending out all of our emails as cash emails. So when people do respond, they get immediately paid out and get a follow-up email with a nice design, seeing the 4 use cases that we've outlined for them to think about. We make our outbound calls. We get cash calls to get people to pick up, and we show that we get a 121% increase in cold call pickup rate when people know that we paid 50 cents a minute to answer. So that the hardest part is the outreach, but the cool thing is we get to use our own technology to help us do the outreach and that's like the fun part. Like that's the really, really cool part of what we do. So I wouldn't even call it a negative. It's just like we get to experiment with our own technology before anyone else does. So I actually really enjoy it.
Yeah, that is pretty cool.
Yeah.
Okay, so let's transition a little bit and let's go a little more personal and say, what is your big why as a person, just individually? What motivates you? You are, I mean, you're active. You have a lot of outreach that you do with children and stuff. We'll get into that a little bit later. But your hobbies, your physical fitness, music, you like good beer and traveling. Just what motivates you? Why do you get up in the morning?
Just for the chance of being able to have the biggest positive influence that I can before my time on this earth is up and done. And I take that very seriously. So, I mean, I at a while ago, I want to say in my teenage years, you made a reference to helping out with children, and I think you might end up talking about the National Teen Leadership Program. If you do, that program is awesome. And that's really where I turned around my life, because before that program, I didn't really have any strong ambition other than that which was put on me from my local environment. I grew up in a socioeconomically distressed area with significant Latino population, and there tends to be, the kinds of behaviors that you expect from that, and I was involved in that. just through, exposures to my friends and whatnot. So before the National Teen Leadership Program, I really did not have the ambitions that I do now. But after that, I realized how much of a difference I could make on people, and how much of a positive difference I could make on people. And since then, I've strongly wanted to use my skills, my intellect, my energy, my charisma, my drive to have a positive influence on as many people as possible. And I finally found this mission of mine, which is FynCom, which can ultimately, at the tail end of things, when everything's said and done, if we're successful, all of the outbound communication that people receive, incoming phone calls, emails, text messages from businesses who want to talk to them, are going to come with a reward. So in a way, you're going to get paid for the data that you otherwise don't get paid for, because the more that a business knows about you and your demographic, the more you're worth to them to explore. So this is my way of helping fix this broken data economy we have, where all of our data gets sucked up by social media giants and people who know how to make software, and you don't get paid for it. You get to use their platform, but I mean, there's definitely this really increasing divide of a wealth gap between the companies who know how to make software and everyone else who doesn't. And I kind of want to bring a balance back to that. So I think it would help society if we were able to get paid for the data that we contribute.
Yeah, that's very good. I like that a lot.
Me too.
Yeah. So since we kind of touched the iceberg a little bit, let's go ahead and delve a little bit deeper into the National Teen Leadership Program. Let's give them a little bit of a plug here, because what you have on your bio here sounds pretty cool, and you've obviously done a lot of work with them, and it means a lot to you, and it's helped you in your life a bunch. So why don't we give them a little bit of a plug on this show and talk about them a little bit?
Absolutely, yeah. They literally changed my life. They were probably one of the main driving force between, like, I can think of my life before NTLP and after NTLP. Everyone who okay, so what it is, it's a 3-day leadership program for teenagers from ages, I believe it's 13 to 18. So if you're about to enter high school or about to leave high school, you can go to NTLP. And you arrive there Friday, you stay Saturday, you stay Sunday, and then you leave Sunday night. And throughout that entire camp, there's one in NorCal and there's one in SoCal. I believe they tried to open up one over on the East Coast, but I don't know what happened with the whole pandemic thing. So they bring in speakers who talk to you about leadership, about the struggles they went through. I remember my first speaker that I saw there was Josh Sundquist. He was a comedian who was born without a leg, and so he had he walks around with 2 canes and just 1 leg. But he came up to show us how happy he was and how he was still able to make a living and still have a whole lot of fun. Like, he dresses up every Halloween at these crazy elaborate costumes that you can only do as a 1-legged person. So, for example, a flamingo with his legs standing up kind of thing. Another person I remember was, I forget this person's name, but it was someone who, I don't know what the term is. It's not quadriplegic, but no arms, no legs. And it just seems so difficult to live life like that. But he was so happy and still able to get along and open bottle caps, hold a microphone, talk to us, joke, and have fun. And it just made me realize that, I'm hearing impaired, by the way. So I'm about 60% deaf. I wear hearing aids. I've been like that since birth. And for me, it personally made me a little bit more introverted. So because I couldn't join in on a regular conversation and listen to people, for fear that I might have to ask someone to repeat something and slow the flow of that conversation down, and I didn't want to drag the group down. So I tended to just sort of shuffle off by myself. That's how I became really introverted and whatnot. But then after meeting these people who had way more challenging lives, I thought, wow, this really isn't so bad. I'm really lucky, and I should just appreciate every second of life that I have. So then I went again the next year and as an attendee, and then after that I started attending as a staffer. And all the staffers on there, they actually pay $300 to go there and teach the kids and be with the kids. So I can't recommend it enough. If anyone's watching this show and has teenagers, 13 to 18, want them to learn a little bit of leadership and really turn themselves around, definitely MTLP is the place to go. It is an amazing, amazing camp.
Nice. Yeah. Well, it seems to me like you got over your introvertedness a little bit.
Just a little bit.
Yeah. I think that's great. Yeah. I have 5 kids, and my 15-year-old, she wants to be a doctor. She runs track and a little bit of cross country, but she likes the shorter races and the jumping and that type of thing better. But she is very much not an introvert, but very much just a born leader. And I would love to send her to something like that for sure.
She'd probably really enjoy it. It's so great hanging out with all the other kids there, and they make you do the silliest things ever. Like I just felt so embarrassed doing some of the things they make you do, but it really just shows you like that you just need to be able to let yourself go and forget about what other people think about you, and just enjoy your life, and that mentality is just really flipped the light bulb of this black and white difference. So I highly recommend you to send her to that for sure.
Yeah. I think we all worry way too much about what other people think of us.
Yeah, that's definitely a thing.
Yeah, for sure. Well, good. I'm glad we were able to plug that a little bit. I'm glad that you were able to go there, because it seemed to have sent you on a trajectory of a lot of things. Because FynCom is not the only. Yeah, FynCom is not the only entrepreneurial endeavor that you have started. I mean, you've done quite a few things. Tell us a little bit about some of the other entrepreneurial gigs that you've had.
Sure. So I love talking about these now, but typically when I'm engaged in these entrepreneurial things, I typically don't tell a lot of people about it, because when you find a pot of gold and you're digging out of it, I like to not invoke the tragedy of the commons where you tell a lot of people about what you're doing, and then everyone starts doing the same method, and then all of a sudden it's not that special anymore. So I talk about these entrepreneurial endeavors publicly because it's almost impossible to do it at the scale that I used to do it back then. On that same note, I have other entrepreneurial things that I'm doing now that aren't publicly known, that are really lucrative and really awesome, but I'm not going to tell a lot of people about it because that's our little trade secret,
We won't talk about those yet.
Yeah, maybe in 5 years. So manufacturer spending was one of my first attempts to find the gray areas in our legal and financial system and give myself more points and miles to do what I love to do, which is travel the world. So over the course of about 3 years or so, from 2013 to 2016, I opened and closed about 64 to 73 credit cards and generated about 2.8 million hotel and credit card reward points by just doing what I called manufacturer spending. And I'll give you a little example here. I wanted to get a credit card and get the bonus that they give you, which is like, for example, if you get a Chase Sapphire Preferred card, you can spend $3,000 a month, $3,000 in 3 months, and then they give you this big sign-up bonus, right, which is like 50,000 points. And you can use that to buy yourself a first-class round-trip ticket from here to the UK and back. But you have to spend $3,000, and I didn't have that money as a PhD student. So what I would do is get the credit card and then go into a grocery store, and I would purchase $3,000 worth of gift cards. They sell them at $500 each, and they cost $5.95. So you pay about a 1.1% fee. So I spent $3,000 on gift cards, and then I would go and these are Visa gift cards, by the way. And then I would go and cash them out to money orders. And then I would take the money orders and use them to pay off the original credit card debt. So to the credit card company, to Chase, it looked like I spent $3,036. But I really only spent $36. And then they give me 50,000 points, which is worth, $750 to travel. So the even better one that I did was when I had an Amex Blue Cash, which had an unlimited spend on it, I would go into stores and they would give me 5% back for buying gift cards. So I would go in there and buy $20,000 to $30,000 worth of gift card and use the same technique to cash them out to money orders, pay off the original debt, and then I would make 3.86% on everything that I spent. And I did that to the tune of hundreds of thousands of dollars a month until they shut me down. So that was a really fun way of generating cash back and hotel points. And then I took a year off during my PhD to burn all of my points before they became worthless. So I traveled first class to places like Brazil for Rio de Janeiro for Carnival, to Utrecht for some music festival, to Ireland for my birthday, to the UK, and a bunch of other places that I wouldn't have otherwise gotten to visit without that. So I love poking holes in the system, as legally, mind you, legally. I don't delve into the illegal nonsense. Yeah.
Yeah. I think we're going to have to become friends so you can teach me how to poke holes and travel to some cool places.
Absolutely. Yeah.
That sounds like a lot of fun.
Oh, it was so fun. But it took a lot of time too. I mean, it took me on average about 3 to 4 hours to liquidate about $25,000 worth of gift cards. And actually, that's where I learned a whole lot of social engineering, because when you're purchasing $20,000 worth of gift cards at a grocery store, people ask questions, cashiers ask questions. And likewise, when you're trying to liquidate $20,000 worth of gift cards at another grocery store, they ask even more questions. So you really got to learn a lot of social engineering to make it like that, to do that high wall. Again, this is impossible to do nowadays. You just can't, because the banks caught onto it, the credit cards caught onto it, and the grocery stores caught onto it. So, yeah, but it was fun while it lasted.
Yeah, and it's all your fault. Mm-hmm. So everybody can blame Adrian Garcia.
I was a small fish, trust me.
Yeah, I'm sure you were. I'm sure you were. Yeah.
It's also where I got defrauded, though. You know, I lost $20,000 in one day because of that. That's when I first found out about gift card scams. And I bought $20,000 worth of gift cards. And in SoCal, there's this big fraud ring. I believe it's still around, and it's really easy to steal gift card value, because if you pull one card off of that rack, the first 16 numbers are the same for all of the other 200 cards on that rack. So a criminal could walk in, get one of those Visa gift cards, slice it open, pull out, look at the numbers, put it back in, glue it, put it back on, and then now they only need one, too. Now they can get the other 200 ones by just changing the last four. And as soon as someone purchases the card, puts value on it, they'll hit it with their algorithm. They'll test it for like $1 charge. And if it comes back as fill, they'll drain the rest of it. So I lost $20,000 in a day. It took me 3 months to get it back. And that's ultimately what led me toward the Karma Call and RoboCash thing, which then led me to FynCom. So it's funny because I can trace a line starting from that all the way to here, including the cryptocurrency part of my venture and whatnot. So it's kind of a linear travel, actually. It's pretty interesting.
Yeah. Well, let's talk about some of those other things like Karma Call and then your crypto, because I know nothing about crypto. I know my co-founders are into crypto quite a bit, but I know nothing about crypto. So we have a little bit of time. Let's talk about some of those other interests of yours.
Yeah. So with Karma Call, that was sort of that was what got me the patent that we have now, which is the primary patent that fuels all of FynCom technology. And that was just a way to eliminate the scam call problem, because this is a problem that has just been increasing year over year. You know, from 2013 to 2021, it's gone from about 500 million scam calls per month to 5 to 6 billion scam calls a month. So if you think about all the laws and apps that have come out since then to try to combat that, and then you realize that it's grown that much in spite of all that, there's a really deeper problem here. And I eventually found out that problem is economic incentives. The scammers steal $10 billion in a year for calling people and getting them to go to the stores and buy gift cards and give it to them. So it's a major, major cash cow, and you never get the money back. Despite what the FCC says, despite what, news articles may tell you, that money never comes back, because you can't get it when people live in another place. You just can't. So I wanted to come up with a way to create a filter where someone has to pay me to have me answer the call if they're not on my contact list. And if they're a good caller, they should get that money back. So then I came up with the concept of karma call, which is if you want to call me, you have to give me 5 cents to ring my phone. And if I answer, talk with you for more than 25 seconds, you get a full refund. Our innovation here was the time aspect of it, because I didn't want to make you push a button or think if you had to say that this person was a scammer or not. I just wanted you to answer a call and hang up. So calls longer than 25 seconds, get a full refund. Calls shorter than that, you get 80% and we get 20%. So that was what, the innovation behind Karma Call. And then that expanded into like, oh, okay, we can have businesses pay people to continue talking with them. And that's where FynCom was born. So, and all that was made possible because of cryptocurrencies. Because in the past, sending 5 cents would be crazy. You would pay 2.9% to PayPal or Visa or MasterCard or any one of them. And then you would pay 30 cents for each transaction. So it was impossible. You couldn't do it. You just couldn't. But because of some particular cryptocurrencies, we use something called Nano. It's made in 2015. The payments can be completely feeless. And so now we're in an area where you used to have to pay 1.5 to 2.9% for every transaction that you send. But now with Nano, you can pay 0%. And so this goes into what I like to call transaction fee arbitrage, payment fee arbitrage, where now you have this boundary that everyone's used to and this new boundary where you can send value across the world in real time at 0%. What kind of technologies can you build with this? What kind of new innovation can you create with it? And that's how FynCom was born, because that's what we do. We create new concept out of that. So that's my new current obsession right now. Fun stuff.
Well, you're a thinker, buddy. Yeah, there's
It's
always
really
something
easy.
going on in your head, isn't there? Yeah.
It's super easy. I'm going to send you an email right now just so you can test out our cache email. And it's insanely easy. Like I'm just writing testing. So I set up one of my email accounts so that anyone who responds to it will get instantly paid out. And when you respond to that email, you'll get a payment. You'll get a Nano account that's attached to your email address. So it's like a key pair. Your email address is now given a Nano account, and that lives in our databases. And you can go onto fyncom.com, enter your email, and it'll give you a code. That's your password. Then you sign in, and you can use that money to withdraw at any time, to cash out to Visa, gift cards, Starbucks, Amazon, or just use it in the Nano world, which there's a lot of places where Nano is accepted. So that's kind of what we do. We take all that complexity away from people so they don't have to think about, oh, how do I make a cryptocurrency account? What do I do with it? We just make it really, really simple for you to use. And that's our innovation as well, that we can give anyone a Nano account, whether it's an email address, a phone number, social media handle, or whatever. So super fun. And it's really in line with what I want to do, which is positively influence as many people as possible. How do you do that? Well, the internet's a great place to start.
Yeah. Okay. I just replied to it, so.
Okay, sweet. Yeah, I'm checking our back end here. Yeah, I see that you. Yep, looks like you should have just. Okay, the email is sending right now, and there it is. So we just got a commission for that too. This is a live test, so a 30% commission went to us, while you got that full payout. I have like a Slack group set up where a Slack bot will tell us every time that we get a commission. It's super fun. It's like we see these commissions coming in all day. Oh, that's how we make our money, by the way. Cost per attention. So a business will only pay if they get a response. So if I were a business, I just got a response from you, and then I would get FynCom that commission. So that's how we make our money. It's really in line with businesses, So it might have landed in your spam box, though. Oh,
I just got paid. Yep.
Was it in
Right
your
there, live on the show?
Inbox? Nice. Yeah.
It was on my inbox. It wasn't on my spam box.
Nice.
How
Okay,
about that? You couldn't ask for better than that.
So now you got a little bit of Nano, and super easy. So I'm glad you got to experience it. But yeah, that's how simple it is.
Yeah, that's crazy.
I know, isn't it?
Very cool. Yeah.
Thank you.
All right. No, thank you. That's awesome. I like these shows because I learned something new with each and every one. I am not a tech person. This is my first tech job, you could say. I've come from working in the dirt, I like to call it, and I came to this in March of this year. My co-founders are both kind of from this world, and they hired me to be the chief of staff. I love people. I love talking to people. I love dealing with people, and so that's kind of how I entered into this. So every show I do, I'm learning something new, and this is, I don't know, I like it. It's very cool.
Well,
so,
welcome.
Yeah.
It's
thank you.
insanely
No,
cool.
it's overwhelming at times for me. I talk to
imagine.
I talk to founders, and I'm just like, my goodness, I am in over my head. But at the same time, it's good. Like I'm getting an education unlike I could ever get going to school, for sure.
100%.
So I like it. It's very cool. So go ahead.
I've been in tech for since 2008 as a seasoned engineer from 2008 to 2012, and then doing a PhD from 2012 to 2019, and I still get overwhelmed with some of the things that technology can do. Not even the technology side, but also going into things like the inner workings of material sciences and how physics binds all the atoms around us in particular configurations to create this world that we see, and to have this kind of communication between you and I. The sad thing is, not the sad thing, but the weird thing is that like physics has, had a lot of revolutions about 20 or 30 years ago when the transistor was invented. And since then, it's been harder to have those kinds of big, giant breakthroughs. And I worked in the field for a long time in graphene, which is the world's thinnest material. And it's hard to have those kinds of breakthroughs now. But I think we're sort of starting to see something happening with the cryptocurrency world, and giving people a true peer-to-peer value transfer and letting them do with it whatever they want. And even that's not on the level of physics. That's just something that's, cool because it opens up value transfer, but it's still not like radio communication or satellite technology or anything like that. But yeah, I never stop getting overwhelmed. And I think as long as you're pursuing that intellect, like you're going down the right path. Someone once told me, life is like a video game. If things keep getting harder for you, you're going down the right direction. So I thought that was a pretty memorable quote. So yeah.
Yeah. Well, I was talking to my wife when this pandemic hit. I was working in the oil field, and I'm like, I need to figure out how to get into technology. Like, I need to figure out how to get out of this and over into the world of computers. And I don't know how to do that. I'm in my mid-40s. Like, I've pushed away technology my whole life because I'm a big guy. I'm 6 foot, 280 pounds. I've always just been a strong guy who's just worked from, putting stuff on my back and working that way my whole life. I'm like, I don't know how to do it. And then this job just kind of fell into my lap. I'm like, okay, well, I guess we'll take it. And it's been a road, man. It's been very cool. And now I'm talking to people. Well, you're in California. I've had shows with people in India and New Zealand, and I'm like, I can't believe I'm talking to somebody in real time halfway around the world. And that's old school technology now. But I still can't believe that I'm doing it. I think it's very, very cool. And it's just the tip of the iceberg, really, I think, from where we're going to be here in a few years.
It's mind-blowing.
People are cool. People are awesome. And the way that our minds think, I've had some medical tests done here lately, and I'm just like, man, people are just cool. The way that our minds think, and we can come up with this stuff. It just blows my mind how we think.
It's fascinating. We're kind of like an organism, like a fungi that people. I don't know what this term is, but there's this weird concept where people will come up with groundbreaking new concepts and new ideas at the exact same time. And it's just the weirdest thing, but it's happened before. I can't name any particular cases off the top of my head, I'm drawing a blank. But it's this weird phenomenon, and it really makes me think of our species. Like, are we connected somehow to each other? It kind of feels like we are sometimes. It's really strange. I don't really get it, but there's this weirdness with that, and that can get into some real woo-woo stuff. But things just seem a little weird sometimes. I can't really quite put my finger on it, but yeah.
I think we're connected.
I feel like there's something there. I can't explain it though. One thing I do know is we're connected in that we're both alive during this period where, that in itself is unique because, we have an average of 100 years, if we're lucky, before everything's done. And there's never going to be anyone else you get to talk to. Like, this is it. This is everybody that you're going to know. So in that way, we're really intimately connected. So,
yeah, that's true.
We're trying to make the most of it while we can, I guess.
Yeah. All right, let's go ahead and transition a little bit. I mean, we're 40 minutes into this conversation, and
oh my gosh,
I don't really want to stop, but we're going to have to here sometime. Well, let's get into some of your other hobbies, and obviously you're into physical fitness. You said you don't run as much as you used to, but you love music, good beer. So let's talk about that a little bit, because good beer is different to different people. What do you think is good beer?
So I work above a brewery right now. So I get to enjoy IPA, and I mainly stick to IPAs. I like anything that has sort of an orangey, tangy flavor to it. Typically, I go for ABVs of around 5.7 to 7.5% or so. That's kind of my sweet spot. Right now, there's something here called the Chocolate Bomber, which is it's Hangar 24. I'm on the 4th floor of my building here. I'm lucky enough to be here for free as part of an incubator. I'm really thankful for that. But the cool thing is, There's a brewery on the 1st floor, and it's called Hangar 24. So I get to go down there and mingle with people. And it's weird because even during the pandemic, people weren't really wearing masks down there. It was just it's Orange County, people are crazy down here. So they're just whatever, no mask. And it's okay, cool. But so I get to go down there and try out Chocolate Bomber. It's kind of a darker beer. I guess Red Trolley is a pretty decent one it's kind of an oldie but a goodie. And I don't know if you've ever been to San Diego, but they have a lot of really good breweries down there. And Peanut Butter Stout from Belgian Beaver is a really great one.
I do like peanut butter stouts. So I grew up in Longmont, Colorado, which is in Boulder County, and there was a lot of microbrews popping up as I was growing up there. And so Left Hand Brewery, which is kind of not a microbrew anymore. I guess they're kind of getting bigger. But there was a lot of those kind of breweries growing up. And now I live in Sterling, Colorado, which is kind of out in the sticks. So kind of the same as you. During the pandemic, there wasn't a lot of people wearing masks, and we were just kind of everywhere. But there's a little brewery here. It's called Parts and Labor. It was built in an old car dealership. So that's why it's called Parts and Labor. And they kept as much of the old car dealer. So the tables are built on the old car lifts. It's really a cool bar, and he's got his own little microbrewery here as well, and he does a lot of those kind of things. Use some peanut butter stouts, but I mean, when they're done, and sometimes he'll remake them, and sometimes he'll just make new ones. And he's got some really good IPAs. I really like his IPAs, and I'm not a big chocolate guy. I've never liked chocolate, but other than that, all his beers, I've never had a bad beer from there. But I do like the microbrews compared to the big.
Yeah, it sounds like you got a really good education on beer out there. I definitely have heard about the microbrewery popping up in Colorado, and it seems to be a scene down there. I've never been. I've always wanted to go to Colorado, and I never made it out there to any part of the state. But if I do, I hope you don't mind if I reach out to you, get some suggestions, because that'd be awesome.
You come by. My co-founder Jim, he lives in Boulder. Well, he lives halfway between Boulder and Denver. And like I said, I'm up here in Sterling. So if you come down, you look us up, and all we have to do is mention work, and it'll be on the work tab for sure.
Awesome.
I know that you won't have an issue with that at all.
No. I'm gonna keep. I mean, don't be surprised if I do reach out to you, because I'm serious about.
No, I won't be surprised at all.
Okay, cool, fantastic.
No, we would absolutely love that. Jim would love that too. Like we're all about connecting. In fact, until I changed my shirt for this, I was wearing a shirt that said "Keep calm and connect." I love connection. That's what this show is all about.
That's cool.
Yeah. We love connecting with people. So I guess at some point we're gonna have to land this plane. So in order to do that, I guess I'll say, what advice would you give to founders that are either starting out, not as far along as you are in your journey, or I guess as far along as you are in your journey? Just what advice would you give to founders that are going through the same thing that you are?
The strongest piece of advice I can give would be to identify what makes you unique. It's I have this rule about not entering saturated industries. I get really bored with a lot of competition because I don't want to have that much competition. I want to be wildly different from any business that I enter into, or have some niche or some technique, something that gives me a competitive edge. So find what is your competitive edge. If you don't have one, try to think of a way that you can create a competitive edge, create a niche, create something of value, something that people will pay for. Not just something that's cool that you want to build, because not a lot of people buy that kind of stuff, but something that that people will pay for. I did an economic study because I had access through my university to all of these industry reports. So I looked up, how much revenue call centers bring in, how much revenue market research centers bring in. It's $260 billion globally per year.
Jeez.
For call centers. It's about $230 billion for market research centers. And so I realized, okay, with just those two, pretty sure I can get a little bit of that revenue coming my way. And the technology I had was pretty useful. I mean, I got a patent on it, so it was like the first of its kind. But not a lot of people are in those same shoes. I mean, sometimes you do have to compete. Just find something that, first off, that you love, that you actually love doing, you love the idea of it, and you love the execution of the idea of it. It's easy to be a dreamer. It's a whole other thing to be able to sit down and execute and structure your day so that you can fulfill these goals. Look up agile methodology, Kanban, anything that can keep you moving along consistently. But most importantly, unit economics matter. Like look up the long-term health of your, basically do an economic analysis of your business as much as you can before you start actually doing the thing, unless you just want to do it for fun. So, I really don't want to see people just, work their lives away for something that, it just isn't as lucrative as they thought it would be. It's fun. I did that. I did that 3 times, just for fun. So I'm only saying that out of experience, and maybe I shouldn't say it, 'cause I've done it. I've done it 3 times in the past with friends,
right,
just thinking up wild, crazy ideas and spending, a day a week just trying to work it out with them. Just be aware. Be aware of that. That's all I want to say. So, there's a laundry list of advice I could give. But I think that would be the main one. Understand the unit economics and love what you're doing.
Okay. And I just want to point one thing out. You just posted this yesterday on your feed in LinkedIn, and it's a quote. I guess I'm not sure exactly what book it's out of, but it says, "Nothing, not all the armies in the world, can stop an idea whose time has come."
It's
That's
such
powerful.
a cool quote. I know. It's from this book.
Yeah. Nothing. It's out of that book.
Positioning.
It's upside down.
Yeah.
Position.
Positioning by Al Ries. My TK from Go Ahead Ventures, the guy who funded us, he gave me this book to read, gave me a whole bunch of other stuff to read too. So I thought that was really powerful. And yeah, thank you for pointing that out.
And no, you're welcome. And I'll say it again. Nothing, not all the armies of the world can stop an idea whose time has come. I thought that was very cool. And that kind of ties into what you were just saying. So last question of the day. What is the best way for our viewers to get in touch with you if they'd like to?
Yeah, just reach out to me via email. It's Adrian at FynCom.com. I'm pretty responsive. So reach out to me anytime. Happy to talk, happy to chat, happy to connect.
Okay. Happy to connect. And it says at the very last thing on your bio on LinkedIn, it says, reach out to me for anything. So I'm guessing that that holds true. If you want to get a hold of Adrian, reach out to him for anything. Adrian, It was awesome to have you on the show. I really, really appreciate it. I had an absolutely great time.
Thanks, Bud. Really enjoyed this conversation and looking forward to our rendezvous in Colorado.
Dude, me too. Me too. I am so looking forward to have a microbrew with you.
Yeah, it's going to be great.
Thanks a lot, buddy.
Of course. Thank you. Right.